Alright, I think it's time to do another development log on this game. Um, so I've been working on a couple of things in the past month. Most obvious, there's been a pretty big visual change here, you can see. It used to be that the background was like a solid opaque color. I figured out how to do sort of a translucent glass material that I've added to the bottom of the level, and I also figured out how to do like a space skybox that you can see here. Um, you can see that here, and I kind of added those together to kind of give it this sort of like platform in space sort of look that I kind of like. I think that looks pretty good. Wait, did I? Yeah. Other than that, I think in the last log I mentioned that the game felt like it played at different rates depending on the like whether it was windowed or plain editor or full screen, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is a bug or like what's going on, if there's some setting I have to enable or disable or something. What I found out was actually so. I was using for all of my enemy behavior. I was using these AI behavior trees. And then for the behavior trees, I was defining in C++ all these classes that would define like movement and behaviors. Now, the thing with those is that what I've learned is those are great for characters, and if you have character classes that are going to walk around and they're going to detect the enemy and they're going to you know, do something intelligent about like taking cover or firing at the player or do whatever they're going to do, behavior trees are definitely the way to go. However, in this game, I don't have characters. I have pawns, and pawns are different than characters. And the reason why they're different, here I'll show you some of the classes I'd actually written. These are all Blackboard tasks. You can see like move to player was one. Now what I did to make all this stuff work was I'd execute a task that would add movement input, um, and like here, and I would just hook those up to a behavior tree like this one. Where is it? Enemy pawn BT. I think this is the simplest one I had. You know, this is a service that will check for the player that I also wrote in C++, and I would hook it up to this task that was also written in C++ by hand. The problem with that is what I learned. Unlike a tick function that a pawn would have, this doesn't run every single frame. So it only runs on some number of frames. It runs as fast as it can, but it's not a guaranteed like tick loop. It doesn't have a guaranteed like heartbeat rate. Which if you are using the movement system in the game in Unreal where you have like a nav mesh component and that your character can move around that nav mesh component and you can do things like you can use like the move to function. Like this is something you'd use that's built into Unreal where you would set a target and then you would say move to this target and then the character would move there. For pawns, it doesn't matter how you set it up or what you do. You don't have a character movement component. You can't use this stuff. And what that means is that behavior trees, in my opinion, that's what I have found, are not really the way to go for moving pawns around the screen. So what I did is I took a lot of that logic that were in these behavior tree tasks and moved them directly into, let me open up a really simple enemy. The basic enemy. I moved them directly into the tick function, and so that this would check for the existence of the player and then start moving towards it. And when I did that, the game starts playing at a consistent pace no matter what the size of the screen is or what the frame rate is. Because that's what it was. It was tied to the frame rate. And here, let's switch on audio. By doing that, yeah, it fixes that problem. And so that I spent a lot of time on in the past month, like figuring out what was going on and how to fix it. And I tried to do it within the behavior tree system because, you know, if you develop in Unreal, that's what they tell you to use, is use behavior trees all the time because they're great, and they are great. But they're not great for this. So I'll probably delete all of these behavior tree classes or behavior trees and service tasks that I had written for this game and just go to using the tick functions in these pawns. The other thing I added was a new enemy. Let me see if I can play enough to actually get one to pull up. Actually, let's do it in editor. Hold on. Select viewport. Let's see if I can pause and eject and find one. I also changed the balance of the game quite a bit to make it a little easier. The few people who I got to play it were just dying in 10 seconds, and the game was kind of rough in terms of difficulty, and so hopefully that helps. I made it a little less reliant on the burst mechanics. Okay, here's one. So this guy, he's new. He just kind of sits and spins around and is sort of a blocker, so if I were to run into him, he would kill me. And so he kind of takes up a lot of space on the screen, and isn't a super complicated enemy. He takes a couple shots to kill. He can also be bursted on, although his burst effect doesn't look very good. I need to kind of fix his material a little bit. And yeah, game's generally a little easier. Again, we fixed that frame rate issue, and oh, the main menu is different. We can go to UI. No. Maps. Main menu. This background actually takes up the full screen now, which is great. It used to not do that. But generally the game is, just making some good progress. Playing it now, I think it feels a lot better than it did before. I'm not sure if the new enemy adds a huge change to like the core gameplay loop, but it's something, because with only 2 enemies, only 3 enemy types, the game was feeling a little stale. I'm going to try to do some more playtesting with people and ask people to play it a little more. But other than that, yeah, that's about all I've done for the past month. Again, this build will be updated on itch.io, so if you have the old build, please download the new build, which I'll be putting up right before I upload this video. That's gonna about do it. So yeah, please go ahead and download that, and I'll put a link in the description.